Welcome to, what is this, episode 21 of Sim Sundays, presented by GridFinder, of course. You know, your weekly source for sim racing interviews, some chat, and some racing. Except for this week, we're not going to be racing because the USGP is right after us, and we didn't really want to compete with the F1 schedule out there because, well, quite frankly, I want to watch it as well. Speaking of F1, today we have a very special guest, and this Instagram account, F1 Wow, has 91,000 followers at the moment. So we're going to learn all kinds of creative things about growing an Instagram following and how he's managed to build this up. Today we have Mick from F1 Wow. Welcome, Mick. Thank you for coming on the show today. I'm super excited to pick your brain about the growth that you've achieved over time.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to getting my brains picked as well. And just a bit of fun in an afternoon, so can't wait to get started.
Yeah, it's very nice to be able to sit down right before the GP, have a conversation with you because
Yeah.
I look at your 91.4 thousand. I keep looking over here because I have it sitting here. 91.4 thousand followers. That's like, I don't know, for anyone who's a content creator or a creative that likes to share things online, that's kind of like a dream. And I'm sure a bunch of sim racing leagues that use GridFinder to promote themselves would love to have 91.4 thousand followers on an Instagram page. How on earth did you do that?
It all just kind of came. I mean, it started. The way I started following F1, I had a really good friend in school, and it was just all he would talk about. He would never be quiet about it. So I was like, I need to kind of jump on his hype train, see what F1's about. So I just started watching highlights of some races. Instantly I was hooked. We were both watching the races together all the time, and that's when we both decided to have a little friendly contest. Make a F1 Instagram account, see who can get the biggest. So
Oh,
we decided to make these accounts, and surprisingly, we both grew to around about 1,000 followers. So by that time, he was just like, it was a fun competition. So he decided to, not put any more focus on that page. But I still kept going. The kind of memo I had for my page then was to post kind of onboard highlights of F1. Like for example, say
okay.
if Leclerc had a crash, I'd post the onboard of it.
Okay.
So yeah, but the thing about that is like I directly took it from the F1 channel, which back
Okay.
then I was only 13 at the time, so I didn't understand much about copyright. So
The copyright. Yeah.
yeah, the page surprisingly got quite big now. I was 13 and, it had around 15,000 followers. Some videos getting, over 200,000 views. So, I was quite happy. I was like, I've got a good thing going here. And then I wake up one day for school. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to post my, daily clip today. Page has been deleted. Everything I just
Oh,
worked for comes crashing down. And
wow.
at that time, I had absolutely no clue. I was like, why? I haven't done anything wrong. I spoke to my parents, and they were telling me, did you look into any copyright? I was like, what do you mean copyright? I mean, yeah, I had absolutely, I thought I was the perfect guy. The rules don't apply to me. But the more I started looking into it, the more I realized that was complete. What I was doing was just like 100% against like their guidelines. So
Of course.
I got my page got deleted then.
So that's kind of an
Yeah,
interesting thing. So, TikTok's exploding
yeah,
and Instagram Reels are obviously still super popular, while there's some people out there that are saying Instagram's dying or whatever, right? It's it's interesting to see some of the content that's out there because it's literally just ripped content from someone else, some other
yeah,
creator, some other big media outlet, and you're like, how do these people get away with it? But obviously, it's a matter of time, like in your case, before someone finds it, maybe someone reports it. Who knows how and why you got the target put on your back? But it's only a matter of time before it happens. Now, there was an interesting conversation between, I forget what creator it was, but there was a developer that tweeted out something, and he said that copywritten material is like gameplay as well. So everyone in the content creation world blew up on this guy because, well, obviously, if you were to end game streaming altogether, that would be the end of sim racing leagues. That would
yeah.
be the end of Call of Duty stuff. What do you think is the next big thing when it comes to like copyright and how strict people or not people platforms are getting with their
Yeah, I mean, the
bots
kind of like
essentially?
there's so many F1 pages out there. Like, most of the pages, are quite, friendly with each other. We all know each other as a big lad community. And obviously,
Oh,
the one thing we dread is, the FOM, Formula One management, coming at us, taking down our posts and stuff. So I can imagine the next thing being F1 just turning around and saying, we don't want anyone to post anything about, our races, our content. So
I
maybe
think that
fairly
would
soon,
I think that
you
would be a
know,
terrible move though,
yeah,
because like they're struggling to grow the global, not even global, they're struggling to grow the United States viewership of F1, right?
absolutely, yeah,
They're always wanting to attack the US to get more fans here. And removing content from the internet and only having your official content would probably be terrible cuz let's be honest. I follow F1 on Twitter, and most of their
yeah,
stuff is just so commercialized, it's not even really entertaining. Whereas an account like yours, it's much more entertaining. It's more of what the fans actually care about and want to see when it's a smaller I say smaller creator, you're almost at 100,000, but you know what I mean. It's not so
yeah.
commercialized to where it just feels like a big advertisement all the time. So I think that would be terrible. Honestly,
It,
there needs to be a way for you to like become an official F1 content source, you
Hopefully,
know?
yeah. I mean, it would be terrible if that happened because all these fan pages, all these for example, Verstappen fans, Hamilton fans, whatever they may be, if they all just if F1 turns around and says, we don't want it to happen anymore, how are people gonna express themselves? Like creating memes, videos. None of that's gonna happen anymore. So kind of like a huge part of Formula One, the fans aren't really gonna get a say in anything. So if that happens, then there's so many people that are gonna like, kind of lose interest in Formula One or
I feel
people
like
won't be
that
able
would
to be bought into Formula One anymore. So
that would have the opposite effect.
yeah,
That would make more people dislike Formula 1 than it would
absolutely, yeah,
promote it and make it so that they watch the official channels, right? Because obviously if they were to do something like that, their thought in some office somewhere is like, well, if we shut down all of the small creators, they have to follow us and they have to look at this content that we put out. But what really happens in the real world is people go, no, I don't want to follow that because I disagree with their choices there, you know? So in the world of sim racing, do you guys cover any of the sim racing stuff on your F1 WoW page?
we've started to recently, maybe over the last year, because we do have an F1 WoW league, like on Gran Turismo, on
Okay.
Formula One, and especially our F1 league. It's our most popular league, so we have around 600 members, 4 tiers, like 20 drivers each, and we have a really
Oh,
big
wow.
prize pool as well. That you yourselves contribute to. We're happily sponsored by Gridfinder, who are providing some sim racing gloves for their champion. Really know which our drivers can't wait to get their hands on. But yeah, our prize pool is worth like £1,600. So we really do have a large following in sim
Wow.
racing as well, not just on Instagram. We have people every week coming to race. We have streamers, commentators. We have everything. So we're really happy to have kind of a dual following on Instagram, but on the sim racing track as well. So yeah, there really are some good opportunities, and obviously it just shows how big sim racing is becoming these days.
And like it grew so much. Obviously, it's hard to, I guess, hard to enjoy the fact that it grew so much during COVID, because obviously
Yeah.
COVID was a bad thing for the world in general. But what it did to sim racing is it kind of brought it into, I don't know if it's in the mainstream quite yet, to be honest. It's not at the level of like a League of Legends or Call of Duty or something, but it's definitely growing a lot. And the way that Formula One themselves are treating it, like we have the Alpine team, we have Williams, we have a bunch of teams out there that are actually focused on it. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over time. Now, do you run your sim racing league yourself, or
Yeah,
do you have
I won
someone
the
else
sim
that does it?
racing. So I'm like, like the owner of the league, but we have a great team of, admins, stewards who kind of take care of the general running of the league. For example, say if I'm not around, because I'm running their Instagram, this, and obviously general, college studies as well. So sometimes it does get quite a bit, but yeah, I'm thankful to have a great team that can help me with it.
Yeah. How has your experience running a sim racing league with the F1 games been recently? Because there's been
Uh,
a lot of talk in the Grid Finder Discord among league managers, which if you're a league manager out there and you aren't part of the Discord for Grid Finder, go ahead and join that. It's gridfinder.com/Discord, of course. But there's some good conversation in there talking about how like the attendance is really down for F1 games at the moment, and the completion of seasons, it seems to be dropping off, where you'll have a full grid in the beginning, and then
yeah.
as the races keep on going, people drop off. Have you been struggling with that, managing your league?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, how I told how regardless of how big or how small your league is, eventually, obviously, what I mentioned earlier about a patch that F1 released lately that's just completely made Wales unusable. So,
I can't
obviously, the
believe.
community in general, yeah, they're just really disappointed, and obviously, myself, some of our drivers as well. The game is just unplayable. We've had the red flag like 2 races this season already due to the lobby just crashing. So I can understand,
That's
drivers getting annoyed as the season goes on and just said, you know what, I don't want to race in this game anymore. We've had a lot of people, just leave saying that they've finished with this game. I understand it because at the end of the day, since it's been acquired by EA, so many more issues are coming along. So it's just a matter of when are they going to step up and start putting, the online in league racing communities first before, like F1 life, these things that nobody really asked for.
Yeah, the career mode and everything like
Yeah.
that they're so focused on. I think that's the biggest problem with some of the big developers, the triple A developers, as we say. When they go and they buy a project, they're only focused on the numbers that they're bringing in and the frequency of releases and being more and more sales. When realistically, if you sit back and you look at something like AC, or even ACC, which is kind of like the the sequel that we get right now,
Yeah.
it's sim racing fans are loyal, very, very loyal. I mean, look at AC. We're still playing it just because of the mod support. Obviously, we're never going to get mod support in a mainstream game like that because of cross
Yeah.
platform play and stuff. But they really need to start focusing on the player, rather than the profits. Because if you lose all your player base, obviously you're not going to get any profits. It baffles me that you say that they released a patch that broke wheels for a sim racing game. Like, how do you break a steering wheel support in a driving game?
I know it's beyond me. It's like selling someone a car that has no engine. Like you just
Right.
can't use it. It was yesterday in our tier one race. We had some people who were on wheels having to race on controller just because we just could not use their wheel at all. So it's just a
That's
really weird, yeah, it's just a bunch of weird glitches that are coming up now. And like I mentioned before, it's just when are we going to start stepping up and putting the online first because of how much the sim racing community depends on it.
yeah, it's the developer side of me is absolutely baffled, thinking about, okay, so I know you can't possibly test every single incarnation of a sim racing setup that's going to be out there. It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
But you think you would hit the big ones like Fanatec, obviously, Logitech. If the wheels are broken and you're releasing this hotfix to a game, how does that make it through QA testing? How?
I have absolutely no idea. Obviously, I'm just as confused as you are. Many drivers in the community just unable to play the game at all. And obviously, as you mentioned earlier, that's just leading to people, leaving leagues, just leaving the game altogether. And it's why, some leagues, also our league, why we're just struggling so much to, maintain consistent attendance throughout the season.
Yeah, and That's an unfortunate side of relying on something like F1. So, is there another Formula One game on console at all?
Not really, no. I mean, what you mentioned about AC, you can get mods for F1, but you can use mods on console. So
Yeah.
yeah, obviously everyone relies so heavily on their F1 game, to race Formula One cars, but most of the time they can't because every week just a new glitch will come out. So it's really yeah, it's just a love and hate relationship in the game, really.
It's just a Russian roulette every single time you
Yeah,
sign into that game to see if it's going to work or if you're going to be
yeah.
able to complete a race. And wow.
What glitch is gonna come up this week?
So I don't know if any developers out there are listening, but there's a big opportunity out there for an F1 game on console. Like you said, luckily we do have AC with the like Formula RSS mods and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and there's a lot of other mods for Formula cars that are just absolutely amazing on AC. But yeah, if F1, the EA Codemasters version of F1 was to die, there's no other option because Gran Turismo doesn't have Formula cars, right? Do they?
no, they don't. They did in Gran Turismo Sport. They had a partnership with Mercedes F1, but that didn't carry on until Gran Turismo 7. So the closest
Oh,
thing we have is the Super Formula cars, but obviously, it's a lot different. So
yeah. Well, and then, if you're a Formula One fan and you want to drive the Formula cars, you want to drive the cars from that year that you're
yeah,
watching on the track. You just do. Hence why Codemasters and EA have this property that releases every year and people buy it every year. It's because they want the new stuff, right?
yeah.
Oh, it's hard to glue yourself to a game like that. So what is the general community, I guess, reaction, and where are they going for their racing? Or are they just dropping racing because they're only Formula fans? They go into AC? Do you have your finger on the pulse of where they're jetting to?
Most people just in other leagues that I'm quite close with, or most people just leave the server and just refuse to play the game. Like I said, most people are Formula One fans. They're like, we can't get this, we can't drive these cars anywhere else. If you're a console player, you could get some mods for AC, but those on PC, and if you've got a console, you can't access them. So for
Yeah.
most people, it's either put up with this incredibly glitchy game or just don't race at all.
Wow, that's unfortunate. And it kind of it makes me wonder if it's a little bit more of a rage quit situation.
Yeah,
But it's so I'm going to compare it to like Call of Duty, for instance, right? There are times where I'm playing Call of Duty and I've been playing it for so many years that like Call of Duty is the only thing that can give me that like first person quick shooter fix, right? And there are times where I'm playing terrible or I think something's glitching or maybe there's even a cheater in the lobby and I'm like, F this game, I'm out of here. I'm not playing anymore. And then like
yeah.
an hour later, I'm like, I want to play again. I wonder if there's a lot of that where it's just like the frustration level's so high, but since, like you said, there's nothing else for you to go to, you just have to come back and go, well, I just have to struggle through this experience. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great way to put it. Obviously, I mean, like last week I had a incident in my race. I was in qualifying and I just got kicked from the lobby. Me and five other drivers just randomly kicked from the lobby.
Just,
We weren't. The game wouldn't let us rejoin. We got some invites from some other people in the race, but the game just didn't let us rejoin. So
yeah,
that was our race over. We practiced multiple days a week just for nothing. It happens to other drivers as well. Some drivers, there was an incident in our league where someone was leading the race like 2 laps ago and he got kicked out. So some really weird things can happen with that. And like I said, well, like you said, most of it is just rage, kind of rage motivated. People will be like, I don't want to play this game anymore, and they
yeah.
quit the game. But obviously, they still want to drive Formula One cars. You can't do it in, as you mentioned, Gran Turismo. So they'll just have to reluctantly, start the game up again.
That's that's an interesting situation that EA and Codemasters have then, because since they're the only available option, console specifically, of course,
Yeah,
since they're the only option, it's like they don't even have to be better. They don't even have to fix their game. They don't even have to fix their online play. They're like, well, we're their only option, so where else are they going to go? And that's unfortunate because then it doesn't push the game forward. It doesn't push the devs to actually fix anything. Like if you're getting problems where you're getting disconnected all the time, wouldn't you think that they would have a more loose system around rejoining a lobby if you've already been part of a lobby? Like just seems there's so many things that are just listed in this F1 game that just make it seem like such a frustrating game to pay $70 to $100
Yeah.
for every single year, you know?
And then people buying it every year as well. Like these glitches have been here, quite in large quantity since F1 2021. And obviously some people say it's kind of the same with FIFA as well. Some people just say, okay, yeah, this game is really bad. I'm not going to buy the next one. But then you just have to buy it because all your friends are buying it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they'll shut the servers down for the previous game. So you're just
Yep.
drawn into buying it again. Maybe the first week of the game is quite good. And then they'll release a patch, some of it will break. But next week something else will break. So,
Oh,
like you
man.
mentioned, it's just a Russian roulette. What's going to happen next week?
That's so frustrating. And, it's kind of, you have to buy the other game because if you're a fan, even if you wanted to say, let's go back to F1 2020 or F1 2021, there's not really a possibility of you doing that because coming
Yeah,
from the Call of Duty world, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Call of Duty. If you go back, it's a little bit different right now just because of the landscape that we've had with Call of Duty. But historically speaking, when I was a console gamer, console lobbies would die the day the next Call of Duty releases. And then you're like, well, I don't want to sit here and wait forever to get into a lobby. I want to be able to play with my friends and I want to be able to play with the people that are, they're the Call of Duty caliber that you want to play, because there will obviously be some holdover on the old servers, but
yeah,
not the people that like to play, love to play, really play correctly. And especially like in sim racing, racecraft is a major thing.
yeah,
So a lot of the time you'll get into that old game and then the racecraft is just all over the place. People are crashing you. You want to stick with the drivers that are serious about driving and want to have the most authentic driving experience. So you have to keep up with it
yeah.
constantly.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously with all these glitches that are coming out in the game, obviously what I mentioned about the wheel glitch with the patch. One of my friends, was so desperate to play F1, he tried F1 2022, didn't work. 21 didn't work. All the way down to F1 2017, where it finally worked. So just all day today, he's been playing F1 2017, just because like
Wow.
the last like 5 F1 games have been affected by this
So
wheel glitch.
so wait, they released a patch for all of these F1 games just to, I don't know, do whatever they
I think
found.
it was because I can't find, I can't really imagine any other reason why wheels would just suddenly die out on F1 like 2019. So I'm not sure, but regardless of what happened, for like
Wow.
the last like 4 F1 games in the world, wheels just aren't working for some reason. So F1 2017 seems to be the sweet spot. So
Let's let's put it on the record on the podcast right now.
yeah,
EA and Codemasters release a collector's edition of the game for 2023 that comes with a wheel. And it says like guaranteed to work. Oh
yeah,
man.
no, they give you the wheel, but like, you need to pay to assemble it. EA really
Right.
have a reputation for in-game transactions. So
It's
just a
a
matter of time
monthly
before they take
membership
over Formula One.
so that your buttons
Yeah.
work. Oh, you want to be able to hit DRS? Oh, that's a microtransaction. Here you go. Oh
You need to
man.
pay for each set of tires, or you wanna use soft tires, or yeah, that's £10. So
Right.
it's just a matter of time before all these transactions take over the F1 game.
Well, hopefully EA and Codemasters aren't paying close attention to like iRacing as a service
Yeah,
because I could see them latching on to the amount of money that they're making over there for tracks and for cars and then latching onto that microtransaction structure where it's even more expensive. Hopefully they don't keep an eye over there. Ignoring anything I said if we have any Codemasters or EA people that ever listen. That would be amazing. But oh, that's frustrating. So
it is. It's really frustrating. Yeah, especially like I said for some of the drivers and like league managers for the league racing community. Say we're setting up a race for next week, and then the races can't go ahead because the game just doesn't work properly.
yeah, it's not even at that point. It's not even that your community's not participating. It's not that drivers aren't signing up. It's none of
Yeah,
the harder problems to deal with. You have drivers, you have people wanting to race, but all of a sudden your game just can't accommodate it. That's terrible. And
no,
it
no,
makes
yeah,
sense why there was conversation about people just being like, I don't think we're going to do F1 leagues at all. And I've actually seen a couple of posts out there. I think 2 or 3 leagues shut down this week that have been
shut
long
down.
running leagues, and they just go, no, we're done. And
Well, I mean, I
I
can
mean,
totally, understand that decision, but for Codemasters to look at the league racing community and how big it is, and it's getting so severe about leagues are shutting down, they really need to do something here because, it makes up such a large portion of the the game's community. So and it's really important, a really important part of the game as well. So if people are being forced to shut down just because the bare minimum the game doesn't even work properly, so
That's
yeah, it's
terrible.
something that needs to get sorted out really quickly. Otherwise, no leagues are going to exist in let's say a year's time.
I wonder if it's partially because so EA obviously they own tons of different IPs, right? Tons of different games, and they run
Yeah,
them completely different, right? So I wonder if they're just looking at it from the wrong angle. They're looking at it from like this top level view of like, well, it doesn't matter if we don't pay attention to this stuff because we have enough fans, right? Because EA, what don't they publish? Well, Battlefield is a bad example because that one's in the trash can as well. But Apex Legends is on EA.
so
So
yeah,
like Apex Legends has a big enough fan base. Well, it's free to play, but it has a big enough fan base to where like people will still stick around. Sim racing is a little bit more it's small community driven so much that if you drive away all these league owners, league players, you're really not going to have anything left except for, Timmy who likes F1 and plays through the campaign one time and then moves it back to Call of Duty or whatever. And
yeah. I
that's
mean,
not really going to give you the sales that you need and the longevity for a game to live beyond, I don't know, a couple of years, really, right?
yeah, they're focusing so much on like weird features that no one really asked for. Like this year, F1 Life, and you could just imagine the amount of time that they put into that. For
Ugh.
example, could have been taken away. Time going into fixing the online service. Anything like that. So as long as they just keep adding these weird features, I can just see the game just getting worse and worse and worse.
When I signed into F1 2022 and it told me about being able to purchase a supercar that you can't drive in a driving game, that made no sense to me. Why do I care about what's in my garage in my house in a game where I can only drive F1 car? Why why would I care about any of the furniture in my apartment in a game that's an F1 game? Like, sure, Grand Theft Auto. I care about the random stuff like that in that game because you can use it all. It's kind of like living a second life, if you will, in a way. But like in an F1 game, I'm there for one purpose. I'm there to sit down in an F1 race car and fly around the tracks that I get to see and watch on TV and see how I do. It doesn't make any sense to have all this stuff. And you're right. Put all of that dev time into reconnecting online, stable online connections, cross play so that multiple consoles and PCs and Xboxes, and well, they're into console too, they can all play together, but reliably. It doesn't make any sense to me where they're going. And it almost
Yeah, I
feels
mean,
like they're going to drive this game into the ground at some
yeah,
point.
if they're adding like like even when you mentioned launch of the game for the first time, when I did on the opening day, it was greeted by like purchase furniture, like purchase furniture. What for? Like the
Yeah.
only purpose of that is when you're in the lobby, it's kind of set in the host's house. So I mean, if you really want to, you can just flex your virtual furniture to your friends. I don't really see any other use of it apart from that.
Yeah,
But I'm
it
not really sure
doesn't.
who cares either. Like you mentioned, you're only there for one purpose, to drive an F1 car, not to go shopping in virtual like here.
Yeah, it doesn't make it. It doesn't link up with the purpose of the game well at all. Like,
Absolutely not.
when's the last time you really cared about what was in the lobby to load into a race? Ever?
Absolutely never.
Yeah. It's better for them to just stick you in the garage and you can tinker around with your setups while you're sitting in there and mess
Yeah.
with things and look at your stats. Half the time when I'm sitting in a lobby, I'm not even looking at the screen. I'm like on my phone checking social network, like just looking at Twitter or looking at Instagram, not even paying attention until all of a sudden I see the screen flash and I'm in the race. I'm like, okay, let's go now. It doesn't make
Yeah,
any
I'm the
sense.
same as well. All this furniture stuff. Maybe they put so much time into doing it, but realistically, who's gonna be looking at it? Like you mentioned, while I'm in the lobby, I'll just be on my phone, getting a quick Instagram post out, not caring, what sofa my friends got.
It completely reeks of some guy in a suit in some office somewhere going, well, look at how much money Grand Theft Auto makes on all of these microtransactions. Look how much this other game makes on all these cosmetics. Look how much Call of Duty makes on its weapon camos, right? And they're like, how can we integrate all of that stuff into the F1 game? And they're like, oh, I know. You can have a special lobby with a supercar and a pretty couch and your clothes, all of that stuff can be microtransactions. And I just don't feel like it works, you know? It just
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't think us two, the whole F1 community, when it first came out, everyone was, on Twitter and Instagram just saying, why? Why do
yeah.
we need to add virtual furniture, supercars, even like, purchasing outfits for your character, like, nobody really cares. At the end of the day, we all just want to race. We don't care, what our virtual avatar looks like.
You know what legitimate microtransactions for an F1 game are? Classic F1 cars where you can be like, "Oh, I'm going to buy an old school F1 car because I want to take it around the modern tracks."
Yeah.
Those kind of microtransactions make a little bit more sense. At least they're in the realm of being correct, right?
Yeah,
Just
those ones make more sense. But I mean, if like they're adding features that people don't like, but features like classic cars that people do like, they've removed them. We haven't had classic cars for the last 2 years, so
yeah.
they've removed classic cars, but they've added you know virtual furniture. I don't really see the logic there.
Yeah, if they want to do a microtransaction, which obviously I would prefer no microtransactions to exist in
Yeah,
video games, but we live in a world now where it's just the thing. And if it elongates the game's life, I'm actually kind of okay with it because, I'd prefer to buy a game every 5 years instead of every year and get new content, like content through microtransactions would be cool. Kind of like the old days of Call of Duty where you would buy the base game and then you'd buy the map packs every couple
yeah,
months to add on more maps. So, like an F1 game where it added classic cars, let's say you could buy a package of X, Y, or Z years Formula One cars and you can drive them on the tracks. Or you could buy the old tracks. So you could buy tracks from the 90s and then race on those tracks with cars from the 90s as microtransactions. I think all of that stuff would make sense
yeah. It
because
would
it's
make so much more
racing.
sense. Yeah, and
It,
obviously the community would be a lot more welcoming to those sort of features than virtual furniture and avatars. But it looks like for the foreseeable future, that's unfortunately what we're stuck with.
yeah, and just trying to shoehorn in some stuff that doesn't make sense. Well, hopefully they never introduce you. Have you played FIFA before with the Ultimate Team like card pack
Yeah.
thing that they do? Hopefully they never do anything like that.
Yeah, I've
Luckily,
I've seen people making, like funny concepts of that happening, honestly, I can see that happening.
yeah, I
Purchase
could too.
a team principal, make your ultimate team, drive again, race against some other people with your team. I don't know, maybe it would happen soon.
I could see it happening more in the F1 Manager game than I
Yeah,
could in F1 the racing game. It almost I hate to say it, but it almost fits very well for F1 Manager where you do the ultimate team or the ultimate
yeah,
crew or whatever type thing. But yeah, they just need to stop with the microtransactions that don't make sense. I think we all understand at this point that microtransactions are here to stay. They just are.
yeah.
It supports the game after development and for hopefully years to come, but they just have to put something that makes sense, not the randomness that they're making us do now.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, obviously, with the following the F1 WoW page has, we really try to promote our league through that page. We get so many people, admins, and working hard, to get a race done in the weekend, and it just can't happen. The game's broken. As we're speaking now, our T3 race is happening, and I'm just praying that it can get done without any issues. I'm
Right.
hoping that I don't have to pick up my phone after this podcast and see an announcement saying, the race has been red flagged because the lobby crashed. But
That
unfortunately, yeah, it's a regular occurrence, unfortunately.
it's to the point where it's not surprising to you anymore, right?
Yeah,
You're just like,
it
well,
isn't surprising.
it
Yeah,
happened again.
yeah. When we announced it to the drivers, we're like, well, it happened last week. It's happened this week. So
That would
no
be the
one's
most
really upset
frustrating
about it
thing
anymore.
because, like, do you run full length races or how long are your
50
races typically?
50% with short
Okay.
qualifying. So they take around an hour, an hour and a
Yeah.
half. Yeah,
But so when you race in a league, it's not that you just sit down that minute and do your driving and then you're off. You
yeah,
probably sit down an hour before, get warmed up a little bit.
yeah,
So it's like something in your schedule that you're legitimately excited for as well. Because, if you have a chance to win, you're like, okay, yeah, let's get more points on the board or let's take the podium, whatever. And then you're just let down completely by getting red flagged because the game, eh, not
Yeah, it's not a good look, is it, for the
No,
game?
not a good
But
look
unfortunately,
whatsoever.
yeah, it's something so many leagues are having to do recently.
So let's switch gears a little bit and go back to kind of your Instagram following. So 91,000. Congratulations, by the way, because
Thank you.
that's an amazing feat. Now, if you had to give league owners and or just content creators from the sim racing world any tips on growing a social following, what do you think your number one tip would be? Or, give us like 3 good tips that you think would be valuable for people.
Well, 3 good tips. So, number 1, I would say start a TikTok account. I see a lot
Okay.
of leagues on TikTok getting maybe, 10,000 likes, kinda advertising their leagues, clean racing, hard working admin team. And then they put a link in the caption, that works quite well. So maybe TikTok, Instagram, just keep posting, post something unique, get a following. And, the more of a following you have, the more people you can be able to bring into your league. The
Yeah.
second thing is, I would say, is don't be upset or, annoyed if you have a low attendance. Before I started this F1 page, I had, just a league with a few mates that they were getting around like 6 drivers per race. And then suddenly, we started pumping out a lot more promotion for the league. For the next season, we went straight from like 20 members in the server to 100. So, we were gassed about getting like 6 people in the race a few weeks ago, but now we've got 20. So, we
Hmm.
were just beyond happy. So, some stages are a bit hard when you've got, less drivers or less members, but, just push through it, get some promotion going through the league, and eventually the growth's going to come. And maybe the third tip I can give, join Grid Finder. Get your league listed on Gridfinder.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that one.
Yeah, we've got our league listed on Gridfinder, and I asked people, how many of you came from Gridfinder? At least a good like 20, 30 people. So it does work. It's not some
Yeah.
sort of like fake advertising. So I would really recommend, getting yourself signed up to Gridfinder.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're trying to build it up so that it's easier to promote your league from Grid Finder.
Yeah,
It's well, we're also trying to get to the point where Grid Finder naturally just helps you with promotion, all those great things, which at some point we'll probably do a Sim Sundays episode like Inside Grid Finder or something like that, where we talk a little bit about our hopes and dreams about what we want to bring to the sim racing world. I have a question though. So you mentioned your first tip was start a TikTok account, right?
yeah.
Do you guys have a TikTok account?
We do have a TikTok account, yes.
Yeah. So have you found it difficult to convert from TikTok over to your other channels or your, let's say, bringing people over from TikTok to your Instagram? Have you found any difficulty doing that where
It is
it's
quite
like,
hard, yeah, because they have different, kind of search algorithms. They have
mhm,
different, for example, maybe different age of audience. Another big thing as well, our Instagram audience, obviously, because you have your analytics and stuff. And when I'm looking at them, I can see we have maybe 40% Indian followers, but in
okay.
TikTok is banned in India. So, that's
Oh,
like 40% of our followers
interesting.
unable to, engage with our TikTok. So,
That's
and
interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
What about YouTube Shorts? Do you do any of that?
we do try to do some YouTube shorts. I remember we've had a few maybe 100,000 plus views, but with everything else that's going on, we would like to prioritize the Instagram, but YouTube
Yeah.
shorts definitely
You
they
can't,
definitely do work really well.
as a creator, you can't be like, oh, we're going to send our content everywhere
Yeah,
just because it's just not sustainable. You have to be like, okay, we have to focus on Instagram and TikTok, these 2 things so that we can do those 2 things very, very well rather than doing a bunch of things kind of mediocre, right?
yeah,
That's interesting because TikTok's a weird thing for me. So I go back and forth where I'll have like a month where I'll just watch TikTok all the time. And then all of a sudden, like, I don't know if I get burnt out or something, and then I just won't watch it for another month. And then it's always back and forth, back and forth. And it's kind of this weird. My mindset is way different when I'm on TikTok than when I'm on Instagram, and way different than when I'm on YouTube. Do you find
yeah,
yourself when you're browsing for content personally that you like, for me, for instance, YouTube is where I go to learn things. Instagram is where I go to connect with brands typically and see, what's going on with the big brands that I follow. And then TikTok is just like a guilty pleasure. Like I'm sitting in a waiting room at the dentist and I'm just like, whatever, like nothing. I'm not absorbing anything. I'm not learning anything. I'm just doom scrolling, if you will. Do you find
yeah,
yourself
absolutely.
to
Like,
have specific mindsets for specific platforms?
Yeah, definitely on TikTok. What you mentioned, it's just an endless cycle. You can just scroll forever, forever, and it just doesn't stop. You have to stop yourself.
Yeah.
The app won't stop you, so it just brainwashes you in a way. You just keep scrolling and scrolling until either you get bored or until your phone dies. So it really is just an endless cycle.
Yep. It's interesting because I feel I feel like TikTok has changed YouTube viewership as well. So
Yeah,
it feels like the attention span of people is shrinking day by day. And I feel like I want to blame it on like Instagram Reels and TikTok because here's a funny thing that happens with me. I'll be looking at TikTok, right? And then naturally you're like expecting 20 to 30 seconds. But then all of a
yeah.
sudden you're like, wait, how long have I been watching this video? And then you see the little bar at the bottom that's like not even a quarter of the way through. You're like, no, I'm not watching that. No, I don't care how good
No,
this content is. It's
absolutely,
too
yeah.
long. It's
Definitely. I mean, some videos, you really just expect them to get to the point really quickly. If someone's watching a video and they lead up to something, it's took 3 minutes. I was like, I'm bored. Not even 3 minutes, maybe like 30 seconds. We haven't got to the main point, I'm just off the video. And what you
yeah,
mentioned about, some tips for social media, definitely that's something I would recommend. If you have, a point to make in a video, get to it quickly. The longer you
instantly.
take, yeah, people are just gonna get bored and scroll.
Oh, one of the worst experiences, well, not one of, many times, some of the worst experiences I have on YouTube is when because I'm there to learn something, right?
Yeah,
So I search for whatever it is that I'm looking to learn. And naturally, thousands and thousands and thousands of videos pop up. And I'm like, okay, whatever, let's start at the top.
yeah,
And then I sit there, and for the first 45 seconds of the video, it's like, oh, like me on Instagram, follow me over here, like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, blah, blah. I'm like, please, can we just like I know how YouTube works. If I like your channel, I will naturally subscribe and then I will hit
yeah,
like if the video is good. Maybe I'll forget, who knows, right? But it's at the point now where it's really irritating. I skip forward instantly. I don't even watch the intros anymore.
yeah.
I
Same
skip to
thing as
like
well. Yeah,
the
straight to the point of the video.
yeah, like 25 seconds in or 30 seconds in, I try to skip there. And if they're not there yet, I skip forward again. YouTube did that great thing where it shows the gap, like the
Yeah,
graph, where it's like, oh, this is the most watched portion. And I'm like, oh, that's obviously where they actually talk about what
yeah,
I want to know. Click. So the way that content has kind of evolved over time is just like, man, just get to the point, get there. So one of the things that you can take from that in your, I guess, fourth tip of get to the point is
yeah.
do all your promotions at the end. When someone's finally done and they go, okay, that was a good video, do all your promotions at the end, right? And I wonder, I'm very curious to see, at some point we need to get a big league owner on the show and see how they use YouTube and TikTok and everything. So when you started TikTok, did you instantly get a bunch of your Instagram followers over there, or did you start from zero and not really like cross promote? How did
Oh no,
you?
we put up a like alert on our Instagram and our Discord say, yeah, come follow us and begin like maybe 1,000 followers in a few days. So
Okay.
the easy route, but definitely does help. Obviously, if you have maybe cross platforms, you can just bring your maybe your main audience over to X platform that you're going to start.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And that's because I used to be in the streaming world a lot, and that was like the number one recommendation for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
Use a more discoverable platform to grow your audience on discoverable platform, right?
yeah,
So it completely makes sense. But you said an interesting number there. So you have 91,000 Instagram followers. You did an
yeah,
announcement and said, go follow us over on TikTok. And you said you got about 1,000
yeah,
from
and
that initial
obviously,
post?
yeah. Yeah, and then obviously when you compare like 91,000 to 1,000, that's not that many people. So, what you mentioned about promotions, like coming from my perspective, if someone told me, follow my TikTok, 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Most of the times you don't really listen to these promotions. So it's just about how many people you can bring over. But, most of the time it isn't that many.
That's something that league owners could actually consider because how fast, you personally, so you're scrolling on Instagram, we'll just take Instagram for example.
Yeah.
How fast do you think you're able to recognize a promotional ad post from someone you follow and then just turn off and skip it?
maybe about 5 to 10 seconds or
It's
30 maybe. Obviously, yeah. You
it's
could
like
read the
really
caption
fast, right?
or
It's like
yeah,
boom.
the format of the post, and you can just tell, oh, go and follow, Formula One merch. Yeah, promotion, skip, on
Yep.
to the next one.
It's you have to now you can't just blindly promote and drop we'll say like self-promotion channels in Discord. I don't know if your
Yeah,
Discord has one, but we recently removed ours from the Gridfinder Discord because we identified the fact that people aren't going to the Gridfinder Discord to go find someone to watch their stream or whatever it may
yeah,
be, right? You almost have to hide advertising now in something that feels like real content. You can't just promote anymore.
yeah,
Promotions kind of got a bad name over the course of time. And now people are so used to seeing promotions, they turn off their mind instantaneously. And like you said, 5 to 10 seconds, that's not enough time for any message to get across, except for the fact that you're like, oh, promotion, goodbye. That's insane. So, how
yeah.
does F1 Wow grow their following now, knowing that it's so hard to promote just in general?
Yeah, I mean, what you really need to do, you need to just look for something unique that someone hasn't posted. Like most Formula One pages, go to Reddit to have something posted. So if you look at the, top r/Formula One posts for the day, 9 times out of 10, 10 or 20 F1 pages already posted it. So you need
Mhm.
to find things, that haven't been posted. You need to be unique, especially when you started out. Maybe I would say the first 10,000 followers is the hardest to get because at that point you don't have anything going for you. So you need to really try to be unique. What I mentioned about my old page about like F1 on boards, no one was really doing that. So you need to at least for the first 10,000 get something unique going for you. Then by once you've hit 10,000, then maybe you can relax yourself a bit and be like, okay, yeah, I can post whatever. But definitely the first 10,000, you think outside the box
You
and
need like
get
a
people wanting to follow you for a reason.
you need that niche, if you will,
Yeah,
that
absolutely. Yeah,
something, that unique selling point that makes your page the page to pay attention to. And then, like you said, once you get to 10,000 people and people like your content, then you can branch out a little bit and
yeah.
widen the subject matter a little bit. So F1 onboards, how much did you, or do you even like the new helmet cam that they have inside their helmet?
Yeah, I think it's quite good. Obviously, it gives you a real feel for, what the driver is doing in real time and just what it looks like, to be in racing conditions like, in the driver's seat. So I think it's a quite cool feature that they're providing.
It's probably one of my favorite cams, especially there was that one race where Leclerc was going up the main straight and you could tell he didn't switch up to 8th gear because he was bringing Verstappen in so that Verstappen could pass and then he could pass him right again.
Yeah,
Just that kind of strategy, you don't get that kind of stuff from like the top on top of the F1 car view and all that. Because you saw him checking his mirrors, he didn't shift up to 8th, and like it was just a really interesting thing to see. And I like that it's all shaky and like it's not perfect video. It kind of gives it
yeah,
more of a feel like, oh wow, this is really exciting. Because if
yeah.
it was
It just
crystal
shows,
clear and smooth, you're like, meh, whatever, it's just another camera.
yeah, it just shows like obviously the condition of the cars, especially during the first start of the season. When people had their helmet cams, they did
Oh,
the
and
flip
just
opposite down the straight. Yeah, so yeah, it gives you a real idea of how hard it is to drive the cars, how harsh the like suspension is on it. So yeah, it's quite good. Really gives the fans an idea of what it is like to be there in the driver's seat.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. It's definitely an interesting perspective. And like I said, I'm glad they didn't go with like crystal clear, stabilized as much as possible. I'm glad it's just like a raw kind of
Yeah,
garbage camera feed and we just see it. It's fabulous. When you watch F1, so you're overseas, you're not in the US.
no,
So
I'm in the
you have
UK.
like you have Sky Sports, right?
Yes.
So we don't have that over here. And I have to subscribe in order to watch all the races. I have to subscribe to the F1 premium
Like
thing.
F1 TV.
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
is. Now, have you ever seen an F1 TV broadcast?
Not
Have you
really.
ever? Because
I
there are times in the F1 TV broadcast where they're saying Sky Sports saw one angle, you
yeah.
guys saw this other angle. Now, I'm very curious which is better. I wish we had Sky Sports over here. I mean, technically, I can like VPN and do all the crazy stuff, but
Yeah.
it feels like your guys' F1 coverage is just so much better than ours over here.
Yeah, it is quite good, but especially when Crofty tells if you're a Sky Q customer, press the red button. So it does get those promote like you mentioned about promotions. He has to do that promotion every single race, every single session. Press the red button if you're a Sky Q customer at least like 5 times during a race, and you just know when it's gonna come. Cover your ears.
It's just
Don't want to
automatic.
hear that again. Yeah.
That's interesting. There's less promotion on F1 TV, that's for sure. Like, I don't think there's really any commercial breaks now that I'm thinking about it. Either that or I'm so good at tuning them out, my memory doesn't even remember
Just
commercial
don't
breaks.
even
But I'm
notice
pretty
that it's
sure
there.
it's just, I think it's constant coverage. But I am paying
Yeah.
for a premium, so it
Yeah. Well, if you
probably
pay
should
for it,
be.
that's what you expect, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So today's race, who do you think's going to win?
Well, I think it's going to be quite a close race. I mean, I'm just hoping it's an exciting race because an exciting race, means more content for the Instagram. I'm always sat there, on the sofa, my phone within an arm's reach. For example, oh, this happens, crash. Quickly grab my phone, type up a caption. I need to get
Like
this posted
as
quickly.
fast as.
Yeah, yeah. So I've always got it, within an arm's reach. So whenever something exciting happens, quickly grab the phone, post something on Instagram, be the first person to post it. If you're the first person to post something, that's when you'll get the majority of the likes because
Right.
people have seen it first on your page. So it is a battle with other pages to get these sort of posts out as quickly as you can.
Do you find that since you're, like you said, always the phone is always within arm's reach, you're always trying to
Yeah.
come up with content during the race, do you find that you watch the races differently than you probably would if you were just kind of casually being an F1 fan?
Yeah, definitely. I always, watch the races to find something that to store my mind. For example, if Magnussen spun, I'd remember that and say, I can make a meme about that later on. So it's definitely
Hmm.
a lot more, kind of analytical. Finding
Okay.
things that are going to make good content later on in the week. So definitely, compared to a casual, we're thinking a lot more, and like I mentioned, just having a phone there ready in case something happens.
That's interesting because it kind of reminds me of, I used to play, well, I'm going to say football, but it's American football. So,
Yeah,
the football that they play with their hands, that football.
yeah, fake football.
Yeah, right. And I used to play fantasy where, you pick a team just like, actually,
Yeah,
just like Grid Rival, which Grid Finder has a Grid Rival
yeah.
league
We
that's
also
going.
have a
I'm in
good
fourth
good
place
rival
right
as
now.
well.
But I noticed that when I did play fantasy, I watched the games in a much different way. So much so that I didn't really enjoy them as much, to be honest. Because I was always worried about how my player was doing, how my
Yeah.
defense was doing, how my team is going to shape up for the championship of the fantasy league. And it made it feel not like work, but it made it feel more like work than it was to just generally enjoy the game. And do you feel that at all that you watch F1 and you're kind of like, man, I just wish I could sit back and enjoy it and not worry about any of the posting or anything like that? Does that ever run through your mind?
Yeah, obviously, most of the time I'm just thinking about what I can post. For example, maybe if Hamilton's leading the race by 30 seconds, obviously I know this is going to be an exciting race, so I know that I'm going to have to think harder to get some content out because there is no battle for the lead, for example. So you really are just trying to think about just absolutely anything that we can post because if
Right.
especially after the race, once people have finished the race, where's the one place that people are going to go after the race is finished? To social media. So once the race is finished, we get like 5 or 6 posts out. But if the race is boring, we don't have anything to post. So we really do just have to just think just what you can post at all.
So I wonder, do you feel that it's better for your social media account if it's a boring race and you have to come up with really unique posts? Or do you feel like it's better if it's like an exciting race and you're competing with the rest of the F1 social media accounts out there to get the news out first? Which one do you feel
Yeah, I
is
would
better for your
yeah,
following?
probably like an exciting race. Definitely like Abu Dhabi last year. That was, just
Okay.
absolute madness. So much, happened in that race. And, you're just competing against, page X, page Y, just to get these things out as soon as you can. So definitely an exciting race would be better because you just so many things that happen. You remember that, yeah, I can post this, but if it was a boring race, you
Yeah.
might not be able to get something out as soon as the race has finished, which is the time where like most of our followers are going to be active during the week.
So you're actively making posts as things are happening. You're not like scheduling them and doing like a social media management position kind of a thing, right?
No, no, I make them when it happens. So say, if I'm watching a race and, Verstappen's engine's caught fire and, he's retired from the lead of the race, quickly, take a screenshot of, their live feed and post it on Instagram. So, no, yeah, most pages, yeah, we do make it in real time. And like I mentioned, it's just a battle against page X, page Y to make sure that you can get it out first.
I bet you. So I bet you as F1 Wow, you're
Yeah.
competing with like a collection of people that are sitting in like a media room on their computers, like typing away at content, and you're just over there going, oh, screenshot that, post this,
Yeah,
all by
just
yourself.
sat there myself and watching the race, yeah. I mean,
Well
I'd
done,
I'd I'd
sir.
like to think that, yeah.
You're like, I'm beating you, corporate media people. So if you get a post out, let's say we'll use an engine fire, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Engine fire happens, you post. How do you know if you're the first person? How do you
Y
know?
Yeah, because like I mentioned before, a lot of the F1 kind of pages, have a big community, so most of them follow each other. So, you just refresh your feed a few times. If you don't see anything about that, you know that you were, towards like the earlier pack of people who posted it. So, but obviously say if you open Instagram to post it and it's already all over, you know that you just missed your chance. So at that time, there's just no really point in posting it anyway. Say if you missed it by 5 minutes,
That was
just
actually
just not post it at all. Yeah.
that was going to be my next question is if you go there, refresh your feed, see basically exactly what you were going to post. Is there a threshold for like if there's one, sure, I'll post it. If there's two, I'm probably not going to post it. Is there a threshold to where you kind of give up on the idea of that specific post?
Yeah, definitely. Say, if I see 5 people who've posted the same thing, what's the point of posting it? Because say, someone, for example, who follows page X may also follow us, and if page X has posted it first, and we're going to post it later, they've already seen it on page X, so it's not going to do too well on our account. Especially if it's a much bigger page, or say a page of 1 million followers has posted something. There's no point in us posting it, I would say, because they're going to get the majority of the engagement, so we're only
Right.
going to get, a small slice of it.
Right. And that's interesting. So I lost my next question because that one you kind of nailed the answer there. If you if you go on there and you post something, do you ever refresh and then realize that you kind of missed the boat, but that's still okay? Because there are some times where I know that in order to follow, I don't know, in order to follow F1, we'll just use this since we're talking about
Yeah.
it. In order to follow F1, there's a collection of pages that you should probably have in your list. But those pages are more corporate driven. It feels a little bit more like advertising half the time. And a page like yours is a little bit better. So don't you think that maybe you reshare it anyways? And do you guys ever like reshare each other's posts? So if you see, okay, this thing's been shared five or posted 5 times by 5 different outlets, do you ever just like, I guess for lack of a better term, retweet it and say, okay, well, they got it
Sometimes, yes,
first?
yeah, if it's a really big thing and we've missed it, it'd be best just to, for example, say if, Verstappen dramatically lost the title and say we were 5 minutes late to it, I think at that situation it's best to just post it anyway because if it's such a big thing that had happened, especially say what you mentioned about sharing other people's posts. It's kind of like in the community, it's kind of like a gentleman's agreement. So say if, page X has posted something and they've made it, and if you want to post it, it's fine for you to post it, but you need to, credit the person for it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of a sign of respect in the community.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So I wonder if some league owners kind of do the same thing where obviously there's a bunch of leagues out there competing kind of for the same driver market, really.
Yeah,
It's you're competing for the eyes and attention of F1 fans, whereas an F1 league is competing for the signups and the time of these drivers, right? So I wonder
yeah.
if there's like that general gentleman's agreement among other sim racing leagues that it's like, well, unfortunately, we don't run something on Wednesday, but this other league does run something on. Retweet that for them since they run on
Yeah,
Wednesdays and
no,
we don't.
absolutely. One of my close friends runs a league on a Friday. So originally, we were gonna have our, tier one. Our race weekend start from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We were gonna have tier one at 8 o'clock, but which is when my friend runs his league. So kind of, respectful towards one another, because his league shares members with our league. So, we don't want to, make people choose if they want to race in League X or our league. So we decided to make our weekend just Saturday or Sunday, so he can, operate his league and people in our league who are in his can race as well. Because, the last thing you want to do is, make people choose between two different leagues because, could make a conflict between two separate parties.
Kind of similar to how we didn't want to make people have to choose Sim Sunday's podcast or watching the GP today. So
Yeah.
we moved around a little bit and we're a little earlier. That's someday I hope to be able to build an Instagram or any following on any channel up to even like 25% of what you have going on there. Do you have any big plans for when you hit 100K? Because based on the numbers, it seems like you're gonna hit 100K.
Yeah, myself and the second admin of the page, because we do have two admins on the page, obviously, because one's from India and myself from the UK. So he posts, kind of in Indian time, so and I post in British time. So we do cater to kind of both sides of our following, which I think is quite good to have two people, two minds, two sets of ideas. So I think it's quite good to work together in a team with him. But what you mentioned about wait, what did you mention again? I'm very sorry.
100K, a big celebration for 100K.
Yeah. We're trying to push for 100,000 by the end of the year. Maybe fly him over to the UK for a party. But yeah, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. We need to get there first. But before the end of the year, definitely I think it's possible, and it'll be a real achievement because if you imagine like 100,000 people, that's more people than can fit inside some football stadium. So just imagine 100,000 people turn up at your front door to watch what you're doing.
Right. Or, I mean, it's a good example. A football stadium. So you're standing in the middle of the stadium, and that's 100,000 people just in the stands, all watching what you're doing, and that's pretty insane. Well done.
Yeah, especially for some smaller creators, being upset. I only have 1,000 followers. Like I said, if you just imagine 1,000 people turn up at your door to watch what you're doing, it's a lot of people. So especially for some small creators, see through that, hard 10,000. Don't be kind of upset that you have a low amount of followers.
So when you're talking about small creators and being a little bit disappointed in maybe their numbers, if you think about it, we've probably all seen a school auditorium, right? Like just the stage where a high school maybe does a play, whatever, in public schooling. Those only hold like 250 people, and they seem so huge.
Especially when for example, the whole school's there for an assembly. You can hear all the crowds, all the crowd talking. Yeah, it feels like so many people. And like you mentioned, that's only 200. That's for example, my following like 90,000. That's only a really small percentage. So just to put it into perspective, and as well for some smaller creators who maybe are annoyed by not having that many followers. Regardless, it is a lot of people watching what you're doing. So,
I mean, realistically, even 100 people is a lot of people that are specifically paying attention to you.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah, but definitely for 100,000, maybe have a little fun for a party or something. But one thing that we would like to do as well, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we work with some real racing drivers. What we did for the 2022 season, we worked with Alex Dunn, the British Formula 4 champion. So obviously, his next steps for next season haven't confirmed yet. We do hope maybe that he could get into Formula 3 with his current team, High Tech. So maybe if we can celebrate 100,000 and celebrate continuing our work for another year, that would be great because it's been great for us to work with him, and I can hope that he's really enjoyed working with us as well.
That's very cool. You guys going to Sim Racing Expo in December?
I applied for accreditation to go there as kind of an influencer. I haven't heard anything back yet, but to go there would be great. To see the Grid Finder team racing, to get some great content of the sim racing mode. Hopefully, it'll be a great opportunity. So I'm just waiting for that reply email.
Right. I'm excited because I'm actually going to be going overseas and attending. I'm just excited to meet some of the creators that I've talked to through Sim Sundays because, me being overseas in the US, I don't get to go to the smaller events or anything like that, or even the meetups that we at Grid Finder have had at times. So it's just going to be a really cool event for me to go and be able to be around the sim racing world over there. Because what's interesting is there's not a lot, at least around me in the United States. There's not a lot of sim racing stuff going on. Of course, in like Orlando and over in California and stuff, there's things going on. But in my area in Ohio, not really much going on. So it's going to be really cool to just be around other sim racers and other people that are making content for sim racing. I hope to see you there. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I hope to see you there as well. It'd be great to kind of get a little Grid Finder meetup going.
Yeah, it definitely will. We're actually gonna be there, and we're gonna do small interviews and things like that. And
Yeah,
nothing is announced yet on everything that we plan to do. So keep an eye out on our socials. But
definitely.
we're about wrapped up with our hour. Do you have anything that you want to share for the audience out there to go follow him on obviously F1 Wow on Instagram? Where else should they follow you?
On Twitch, TikTok, just any platform that you can think of. Obviously, like I mentioned before, make sure to get yourselves signed up to Grid Finder as well. And obviously, thank you for having me on here. I've really enjoyed the hour.
Yeah, this has been a great show. And you know what? The final question I have for you. What does the WOW portion of F1 WOW stand for? Does it stand for something?
Wowing the audience, I can assume.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, I really appreciate you being on the show. This was a great conversation. And, we wanted to make sure that we wrapped it up in plenty of time so that people could go watch the pre-show for the GP and watch the GP and all that stuff. If you're not following F1 WOW on Instagram, you probably want to. He's hoping for, obviously, an exciting race today, right? And
Yeah, absolutely.
now I'm going to every single time I look at Instagram, I'm going to be like, is F1 WOW first?
That's what we can hope for today, hopefully.
Right. Well, I really appreciate it. Do you have a Twitch schedule where people can say hi to you, or do you just kind of?
Yeah, we stream our league races Saturday and Sunday around 6 to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. That's when our league races. So if you
Very
ever
cool.
want to join, you ever want to watch the races, just tune into the F1 Wild Twitch on the evening, Saturday and Sunday.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience, or?
I think that's about it. I think we finished in good time. Very close
That's about it.
to the race. So it gives people a chance to get themselves ready for what I hope to be an exciting race.
Right. Well, we're going to sign off for the day. If you'd like to join in on some just miscellaneous conversation during the GP, go ahead and join the Grid Finder Discord, gridfinder.com/Discord. And of course, we're Grid Finder all over the place. So if you just search for Grid Finder out there, and while you're doing that, also search for F1 WOW and give him a follow on any social platform. We will see you guys next week. This episode will be available if you missed anything next Sunday on all podcast services. But other than that, thanks for being here.
Yep.
And we'll
Thank
see you
for
next
having me
week.
as well.